Tesla has entered Indian market, but it seems a little irrelevant given the Indian conditions. What are the reasons behind it and why it seems like that Tesla might not be in for a long race just like Ford and GM? Tesla's entry in India marks a milestone in our clean mobility journey. But Tesla's road to success seems to be full of regulatory speed bumps and economic potholes, where we are aiming that our 30% EVs will be up by 2030 in our country. Tesla is looking for a slice of the pie in this share. But at the same time, it seems like most of the Indians are not going to buy this Silicon Valley product. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's. My name is Shubhangi Singh, and today in Flash News, we are going to understand, even though Tesla has finally launched in India with Model Y, but why does not it seem to be compatible with the Indian market, and its future seems to be similar of Ford and GM, where they could not perform to the demanding consumer and where we are looking for worth of our money in terms of Indian consumer market of EVs. So let us understand that why this suitability lacks here. So recently, Tesla's first showroom has come up in Mumbai, and as of now, only Model Y is up for sale in India. But when we talk about this particular launch, it is a clear insight into the fact when we are talking about the car automobile market, it is very competitive, and where Tesla has come in, especially this particular range, is a niche segment given of the price that we are talking in terms of Model Y. So when we are talking about Model Y, it comes in the range which is above 50 lakhs. We need to remember this to understand why we are drawing conclusions that the future of Tesla, given its infrastructure, given its requirements, seems a little dark here. But at the same time, entry of Tesla into the automobile market and the clean mobility market seems like a good start. First, let us try to understand the significance that we are associating with the entry of Tesla in Indian market. So when we talk about this significance, the first significance that should be very clear in terms of a highlight is the fact that it will give boost to the EV ecosystem that we are focusing on, and we are aiming that it would be 30% by 2030, which we have EV target as of now. So this ecosystem will get a direct boost when we are talking about much renowned company, automobile company, and it is something that comes with the force of already performing in bigger markets like US, Europe, etc. Now this is where we also get the advantage of tech leadership. So when we are talking about EV battery range, we have to understand there are multiple technology associated with it, be it OTA updates, ADAS system. This is the global standard when we are talking about EV ecosystem. Now this global standard is available in India. Even though it is approachable for very few, but its availability marks the fact the highest tech in terms of EV and its ecosystem is now present in India. Next we have is the alignment with the government goals. As I started with this fact only, that the boost to ecosystem comes with the fact that we are aiming that India will have 30% of EVs by 2030, and Tesla coming into the scenario gives a boost to this goal that we have finalized for ourselves. And we have to remember that Tesla is targeting a very specific segment, niche segment, that is the luxury segment. That means this can be bought, this Model Y is available only to affluent urban buyers, which will be a problem for them. We will be discussing the problems later on from here. And now this thing will be a super game changer, that is the supercharger infrastructure. When we talk about Tesla's cars, we have to understand what does it offer to the consumer, or why and what it has in terms of USP. Its USP starts with the technology it is offering, where we are talking about driverless driving, when we are talking about technologies which are available in the car, and we are also talking about the infrastructure of superchargers that are set by the Tesla itself across the nation. However, this is also going to be a negative point when we are talking about India. But Tesla is going to bring in V4 superchargers in cities. It is going to start with 16 superchargers in Mumbai, where the first showroom has been launched, so that there is broader EV adoption. And V4 superchargers are DC chargers which will be more effective, more efficient as compared to the regular EV chargers. Now, yes, the significance seems bright, but you have to look into detail to understand this is something on the broader and long-term vision. This is something that we are not only looking in terms of economics. We have to understand that why the automobile market has been so unforgiving in the past, especially to the foreign players, and this might be the same scenario for Tesla. There are few sticky points for Tesla, but when we are talking about significance for Indian market, we need to look into the significance that is here for Tesla. In recent last 2 years, we have seen dip in the sales number in the biggest markets for Tesla, be it China, be it US, and India happens to be one of the biggest untapped market for Tesla, which opens a new sales frontier for them. So when we are talking about significance for India, it is not a one-sided scale. Rather, Tesla is also looking for certain advantages on their end. And this seems like a balanced equation. But we have to, as I said, we have to look into the unforgiving nature of the Indian automobile system. Now we'll get into the reasons why it seems like that Tesla, what it's offering, it's virtually not present, it is irrelevant, especially in the unforgiving Indian automobile market that we are talking about. So when we talk about Tesla, we have to understand the facilities, the technology it is offering that is in front of us comes with certain costs. And that is the cost that we are paying almost double in India. The first pointer is the definitely high pricing. Now, there is high pricing. If you look at this given number, you will find in India, the price, I am comparing the price of Model Y, is somewhere around $70,000, where it is $45,000 in US, almost $38 in China, and $55 in Germany. Now, this high price is happening because of import duty that has been charged, the tariffs which are put on CBUs. Now, this import duty is leading to the high price. That means if India you are considering, this goes above 50 lakhs. Now, as per the recent data, we see we have only 50,000 consumers in this particular luxury category. And even if, let's just say, 5% of this are the buyers of EV, then only 2,500 people are in front who could be tapped. Now, 2,500, let's just say even all of them are going for Tesla Model Y, then also it is not a suitable condition which will help Tesla survive in this market. So, the high pricing itself makes it a little unsustainable because the consumers would be looking for the worth of their money and they have multiple options present in front of them. Now, when we are talking about multiple options present in front of consumers, that brings us to the second point, that there would be strong competition which is already very much settled in the Indian market and which will give a very strong front to the Tesla which is just entering now. How? I have just pointed out the range in which Tesla is operating as of now. If we talk about this range, lesser than this range, there are options available from Chinese BYD. If we talk about Indians, then Indian manufacturers like Mahindra, they are facilitating EVs in the range of 15 to 30 lakhs. Now, what are the options available for Tesla here? One option for Tesla is definitely if they want to go around the import duties, they would have to start manufacturing in India. If they are manufacturing, then the tariffs, they would be forgiven. Now, you have to understand the import duty is because of the fact that they are importing it from the other country. If they are the ones who are facilitating manufacturing here, this would not be the scenario. Another big point that becomes here is that there is no local manufacturing. Local manufacturing, just like other EVs, will get them subsidies, will get them facilitation from the government. Now, this is the very reason that herein we find Tesla in a sticky spot. So, either they would have to let go of the importing of the cars and start manufacturing here, or they would have to come into lesser cost segments which they do not operate in. Both of these seem a little unlikely as of now. Now we will be moving to the next point. The next point that becomes important for us to understand, Tesla comes with the promise of supercharger infrastructure. So when you are buying a car, you are assuming that infrastructure would be present in our country and you would be able to use the advantage associated with it. Now let me show you something which will give you an insight. When we talk about China, this is the presence of charging infrastructure distribution. Then we have Europe in front of you, the charging infrastructure in Europe, and with specific superchargers present in US, this is the number. But when we are talking in terms of India, as of now, it is 0. 16 supercharger infrastructure are supposed to come up in Mumbai only, but if this infrastructure is going to take time, then the EVs of Tesla would not be so lucrative, especially for the consumers. So this highlights another big gap that will keep away the consumers and Tesla's sale target that we see in India. Now, another feature that Tesla offers is the driverless driving. That means there will be auto driving that would be taken place, which has not been allowed in India. Let's just say for a minute, even if it is allowed, then it is available at an additional cost. Now, that is another gap that the consumer would have to pay more for. That will again drive the consumer away. And last but the most realistic reason in terms of why it seems like that Tesla may struggle is the fact the Indian conditions, the Indian expressways, the Indian roads, the Indian infrastructure is not so facilitating. And Tesla, if it wants to come into this market, they would have to self-tune. That will be a big software cost to them as well. So if all these strong points are addressed, then it might seem like that Tesla might survive. Otherwise, Indian market, even with the potential it has, might not be so welcoming to this particular EV mobility company. Many of you might be thinking here that what is the reason that the prices are so high in India? The reasons are very simple. The first reason I have pointed out is the fact that there are import duties on CBU models, and the other reasons that we are finding is the fact that there is no local production that can help them to offset the costs. There is no subsidy, no credit for imported EVs that is given. That leads to the additional cost in the range of 70 to 100% of tariffs that we see, especially on CBU models. Now the question comes, is there any possibility that Tesla might survive in India? Yes, it might, but there are few things that need to be done in coming times. Now let us understand what can be done to keep Tesla and actually get the significance with which we started this session. So when we are talking about Tesla being enabled and facilitated in this country, they would have to consider one of the first options that is available with them is local manufacturing commitment. That will give them access to lower duties, that is only 15% as per our EV policies. It will also help in competitive pricing so that they are in the range of Indian consumers and they are able to hit the base more than 50,000, because in the range that they are offering Model Y, only 50,000 consumers are available as of now. Then we are talking about wider charging network. So we have to get beyond Mumbai and Delhi region, because if pan-India reach is not available, even though they are offering more than 450 kilometers of drive per charge, it wouldn't make sense if the infrastructure is not present. So they would have to give some capital push to the infrastructure they are promising, just like the dots we saw over Europe, over China and US. And then definitely India-specific needs when we are talking about ground clearance. it needs higher ground clearance. The road infrastructure is such that we need higher ground clearance. So suitability to India's specific tuning is very much required as of now. Other than that, we also need them to focus on gradual but hybrid sales as well as service model. That will help them to combine direct to consumer so that there is local service support is also available, and bring in a policy framework which is engaging. That means tariff relief via Indian US FTA or WTO, that can come in, but that would require engagement with the government, and this is a much required need for Tesla to actually perform and succeed in terms of Indian market. This is another automobile player who is targeting a certain section of buyers, but in long term, if actually all the concerns are addressed, it might be successful, which would be dependent on localization, ecosystem building and policy synergy. Now, I will leave you a question here, that what do you think, even if Tesla succeeds, given the long-term scenario that we are talking about, what are the challenges present for Indian EV automobile market to compete with the foreign players? That was all for today. Thank you so much.